Hi, my name is Courtney Daly, and I'm the manager of national training. And we're going to do another 10-minute trainer tip. So, we've got our kids at home a lot more right now in these times, and we're really looking at how can we make things move a little bit more smoothly in our house, right? And so if you watched the last video, we talked about predictability and creating safety and routine for our kids. Then we think about, sometimes that goes well and sometimes not. So maybe your house runs a lot more smoothly than mine or some other people that I know, but sometimes my daughter has trouble following instructions or staying focused on a specific task, right? Maybe you have more than one children and you've got some sibling rivalry and some bickering going back and forth. I don't know if this sounds familiar to you, but for a lot of families, it's something we see play out day by day, right? So while we might have expectations for our children about wake-up time or what time they're supposed to do a certain subject or needing to get some outdoor time, right? Just because we have those expectations doesn't mean that our children always cooperate or comply with those. And so really, it's a good idea to really talk about that very proactively and ahead of time with our children. Because when we are proactive and let them know specifically what we would like to see from them ahead of time, it really helps our children meet our expectations and have more positive behaviors. Really, when they have more positive behaviors, creates just a more positive environment in our home. We all feel a little bit more relaxed, which we could all use some of that in these times. And it helps us to really have an opportunity to praise our children, which is what our children are looking for, right? To get that positive input, that praise, those hugs from us. So here's some just tips to think about. So if you think about your children or your child, think about some of those areas that are struggles for them, right? Maybe it's using technology appropriately, or maybe it's staying focused and staying on task, or maybe it's trying to avoid making some of those negative comments to a sibling and instead saying positive comments. When we think about those negative behaviors that we see from our child, let's step back and think for a moment, what would I like to see instead, right? So if we ask our child to do something and they don't, well, they're showing us that they're struggling with the skill following instruction. Or what if they're bickering with their sibling and saying a lot of just negative comments or sort of inciting each other? Well, what do we want them to do instead? We want them to say positive things and ignore negative comments, right? Or be able to walk away. So when we think about what we want our children to do instead of that negative, right, we kind of sometimes it's easy to get sidetracked by that shiny misbehavior because it's there and we need to address it. And we want to correct our children, right? We want to train them up in the way we want them to be, right? We want to teach them and correct their negative behavior. But what we know is when we teach children up front, teach them what we want to see, there's a lot less negative behavior to create, which just makes a happier home. So instead of just getting distracted and kind of focusing on that shiny misbehavior, we want to focus instead of what we want to see ahead, what we want to see, what positive behaviors do we want our children to focus on, what we want them to display. So when we ask them to do something, we probably want them to do it right away, right? Maybe look at us, say okay, and do it right away and follow that instruction. So we would just want to tell our children that ahead of time. And it could be as simple as, hey, in just a minute, I'm going to ask you to go pick up your room. And remember, I just want you to say okay and do it right away. Because then we can move on to playing that game together like we had talked about. And when you think about that, giving them that heads up really prepares them to, okay, it's not going to be out of the blue. And this is what I'm expected to do. And then it allows our children to be able to meet those expectations. Go back to our situation with siblings. So siblings oftentimes, they're around each other right now 24/7. It can be a lot for any of us. And it's probably hard for them to keep from doing that bickering of those negative comments to each other. Or just teach them and talk to them ahead of time about what you want it to look like. So maybe telling them, hey, when you guys are working on your schoolwork together in this space, I know it can be hard because you each need different things. But let's talk about how you can stay focused and avoid some of those extra noises that might frustrate your brother, and about how you can make sure and keep your things in one space so that your sister can focus and have room too. And so talk with them about that and how that they can proactively make it work so that there's less anxiety, less hostility, so to speak, and just really creating a positive environment for our children. Each of our children is different. Each of our family situations are different. And so what your child struggles with might be different from what another family struggles with. And that's okay. Just really talking about that with your child ahead of time, letting them know what you want to see. And the thing is then we think about how can we keep that going? How can we keep our children displaying that positive behavior that we want to see? Well, I'm a former teacher and I'm a former foster parent. My family and I foster children for about 5 or 6 years. And so I'm no stranger to children with just a lot of negative behaviors and children who come struggling a lot more than other kids with behaviors or just lots of different personalities from being a teacher. And what I know from teaching is that children crave positivity. They crave attention in one way or another. And really, when we give them that attention in positive ways, we're going to see more of that positive behavior. Kids will work for whatever attention they can get, right? A lot of times what we're going to see more of from kids is what we focus more on. So if we focus more on those shiny misbehaviors, some of those negative behaviors that we see, we're going to unfortunately see more of those. We're all going to be pretty close quarters for a while, right? We would like to back off from those negative behaviors and see more of those positives. So it's important that we think ahead of time about the positive behaviors we want our children to display. Teach them ahead of time, instruct them, and let them know what we want to see. And then get out that, I like to call it getting out that magnifying glass, really looking up close at the behaviors of our children and being able to praise them for those behaviors. If you've asked your child to follow instructions and do what you've asked right away, and you see them go to walk away and do it right away, even if they didn't say okay, that is huge improvement. That is an amazing way to follow your instructions. We want to let them know because we will see more of what we focus on. So it's important that our kids have that. We really have that benefit too in our families to show our displays of affection and that hugging and the little ways that are our language of love for your family. Maybe your child likes that pat on the back or the ruffling of the hair, right? There could be a lot of positive praise in just those little acts. My daughter will ask me, Mommy, can you carry me to my bedroom? By the way, she's 85 pounds and 11 years old. And I'm like, sure, I can. All right, that's fine. Because that's one of our love languages. I can carry you those 5 feet, even though you can watch it, even though you can walk it. That's fine. And it's just really making sure that we're showing those displays of affection and really praising our children's positive behaviors, those things that they really struggle with. When they get something close to right, if you've asked them to pick up their room and they go in to pick it up, let them know. And let them know with some good, hearty praise, saying something like, I am so proud of you. Look at you went in to clean up your room right away, just like I asked. That's amazing. You can give them that hug and say, hey, should we sit down and play that game together here in a minute afterwards? We're thinking about that sibling rivalry. Watch after they've worked together for a little bit, maybe even just 10 minutes. And let them know, you guys, I am amazed. You have worked. You've stayed in your space. You are making sure you're working quietly. And I'm so proud of you guys. And look how much you can accomplish that way. That's awesome. And just let them know, like, we can really get a lot more done and maybe have time for a walk together as a family. If that's something that your family likes to do, that exercise is always nice in these times, however we can get it, right? So I just encourage you to talk to your children ahead of time, letting them know your specific expectations, and then find them doing it well. Really focus on, put your attention more on what you want to see more of.